The ice areas of the digital world are inhabited by some of the strongest Digimon who fought hard to adapt to those regions, both physically and mentally. Leomon, who acquired the power over the cold in the freezing lands of the digital world's ice-snow area, evolved to Pangemon. Also, Ogremon's subspecies Hugomon, who is very territorial and fights anyone who steps into his territory, also lives in this area. The Digimon Mojaemon, whose existence was once thought to be a myth because of how rare it was to encounter one, lives in the snowy mountains. Even Vaikmon, whose fur became like ice crystals, governs the freezing lands of the permafrost where nothing ever thaws and leads an army of Ikakumon and Zudamon. However, the ice regions are rich in population of a Digimon who possesses a huge amount of magical power and is even able to travel into different dimensions. This is the story of the icy Blucomon and his journey through the ice areas. Blucomon evolves from Hiarimon, a lesser Digimon that evolved from Yukimi-Batamon. Hiarimon once had fluffy cilia that turned into snow on the surface of his body. He lives mostly in snowy mountains and his body melts when exposed to sunlight, so he is only active after the sun sets. It seems that the bigger the icicle that hangs from the tip of his beak, the more energized Hiarimon is. The signature attack is spewing cold breath called Diamond Dust. Blucomon is a small dragon Digimon that lives in the land closed by ice. With the strength trained in the frigid region, he easily lifts objects larger than his body. However, since most of his body is made of ice, it melts and becomes thinner, and he loses power when the temperature gets hot. Since he grows up in a land with small population, it is said that if he meets another Digimon, he will have a strong sense of companionship, even if it is a different race. He is especially close to Panmon, a bird Digimon discovered within an Antarctic basis computer. Blucomon has the data attribute. His special attacks are Baby Hail, which shoots innumerable small ice pieces by releasing cold air from the mouth, and Ice Smash, continuously attacking with the outer shell of ice. Blucomon evolves into Paldrumon, an adult-level dragon Digimon with the data attribute. The large ice wings allow this Digimon to fly at high speeds in the face of bad weather. Changes in temperature due to the environment no longer affect the body, but in battles against hot opponents such as Meramon, his body will melt and become powered down like his child form. This is a Digimon who has a strong sense of companionship, so if a Digimon he teams up with falls into a crisis, he tries to help disregarding any risk. On the fur covering his torso, there are 3 white hexagons. Hexagon can symbolize great wisdom and strong connection to spirituality. In many religious and deity elements, this shape represents harmony, calmness, and peace. Hexagons are all over the place in nature too, from the cloud vortex on Saturn, honeycombs and snowflakes, all the way down to microscopic compounds. The special attacks are Ice Age, which freezes the enemy with his breath, and Meteor Hail, in which he rushes from the sky like a giant block of ice. The data attribute Chris Paldrumon is a dragon-human Digimon that is said to be able to evolve only by a limited number of Paldrumon. The developed ice shell has become an armor that wraps the whole body, greatly improving defensive and offensive power. The icicles on the wings have allowed him to keep his body unchanged in front of any heat-based Digimon. Also, the cold air ejected from the thrusters controls even the airflow, enabling higher speed flight even in a snowstorm. The special attacks are Frozen Claw, which slashes the enemy with the ice claws on both arms and freezes the wound, and Callous Dimension, which creates a local snowstorm and makes the entire surrounding area, including the enemy, frozen in ice. Hex Blaumon is a legendary Magic Knight Digimon that is said to be able to evolve only by those who have mastered Ice Magic, a high-class programming language. It is rumored that this Digimon once protected other Digimon when the Ice Age came to the digital world and then moved to another dimension called Witchelny. This dimension is named after the main setting of magical witches. Digimon of this area sometimes travel to the normal digital world in order to further their own skills, the most notable examples being Wizardmon and Witchmon. Witchelny's sorcery is another name for high-level programming languages and comes in 4 magical systems: fire, earth, wind and water. Hex Blaumon is good at manipulating cold air and creating various things with ice, starting with weapons such as swords and mallets, tools such as shackles that restrain the movement of enemies, as well as barriers to protect himself from attacks. These are all truly techniques of an ice professional. Hex Blaumon is an ultimate level Digimon that has the data attribute. While the word Hexa in the name can represent Hexagon based on the symbols of the body of his pre-evolution, this time the word might have another meaning. While the Blau in the name means blue in German, the word Hexe means witch. This references 2 things about this Digimon: his Magic Knight type, who also mastered ice sorcery, but also the fact that he is one of the inhabitants of the magical world Witchelny. The special attacks are Summon Frost, which spreads cold air over a wide area and instantly turns everyone approaching into an ice sculpture, and Hecto Edge Blizzard, which drops countless ice swords like a snowstorm. His final secret technique, Absolute Blast, shoots a wave of Absolute Zero from the dragon's jaw on the left shoulder and crushes everything. You might have noticed that all Digimon in this evolution line don't belong to any fields yet. If we were to speculate, we could say that they all belong to similar, if not the same fields. For example, all of them are dragons, which would place them in the Dragon's Roar field. They are also experts with ice and live in snowy areas, which would qualify them for the Deep Savers field, which is usually made up of aquatic and ice-related Digimon who represent oceans and the Arctic. Later in the evolution line, these Digimon acquire wings, which would give them a place among the Wind Guardians, represented by flying and air Digimon. Digimon in this evolution line cherish companionship and rush to save their friends, even when it includes risking themselves, which is a trait of the Virus Busters. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon, the link is in the description below. Stay tuned for more Digimon videos. P.S. Make sure to follow my community page on YouTube, as I also post updates about upcoming videos there.